Welcome to Content at Scale. We are changing the landscape when it comes to SEO writing at scale. I want to show you firsthand some of the models we've built and how we're helping teams, entrepreneurs, website owners, and even freelancers get 10 to 25x in savings on their time and cost for content creation. Content at Scale's users are approaching 50 million words per month. That's for large-scale SEO content, blogs, articles. That is the one key focus that we have at Content at Scale. And for some perspective, that's 5 years of content in 1 month. I used to run a writing agency. At our peak, we did 10 million words per year. Content at Scale is doing 50 million words per month. That's what our users are doing. So the truth is AI is now 5 to 25 times faster, depending on how you use it, and better than any human writer on the planet. And a study done by Capterra in 2022 proved this, showing that over 80% of marketers believe AI is the key to the future. They believe AI should be a top priority, and they believe AI-generated content is just as good as human-generated content. ChatGPT was the world's fastest adapted to technology. AI is advancing at a rapid pace. So if we know that we're here, we know that human content writing in the rough draft stage should and can be replaced with AI. What does this mean for human work? We believe that content work will be redistributed. Let's talk about what that looks like. So this is what content marketing on a wide scale used to look like. The majority of the work, time, trouble, hiring, vetting, editing went to the writing stage. This by far was the hardest out of all the stages in content creation and distribution. Today, writing can actually be the easiest stage because of technology like Content at Scale that makes inbound content easier than ever, where you can generate a 3,000 word blog in literally minutes, and you don't need a writer to write that rough draft. So AI content will also impact what we're doing when we hire. How do we hire the right humans to run the machine? Again, it used to be writers. That was the key focus. We had to find and hire and train writers. Now we can have the AI write the baseline of all of our content, and we can have one human staffed to write hundreds of articles. And it's possible because of AI, because of our software at Content at Scale. So literally you put this side by side. This is what it looks like. Human-only content marketing to produce 100 pieces a month used to take 10 full-time writers, if not more. With Content at Scale, you can do the same output, 100 pieces per month with one human. And we're actually doing this in our own blog at Content at Scale. We're proving it. If you go to our blog, 90% of all of our content there has been generated by our AI. So it's time to ditch human-only content writing. You're wasting your time if that's what you're doing. And it's time to switch into something we call AIO. So if we know AI is better, we know it's faster, then the question is, how do we publish AI content without losing the human touch? And that's why at Content at Scale, we came up with something called AIO, where we believe the human's role will change into becoming an optimizer of the content that AI writes. So let's talk about it, our AIO model. AI is now the baseline writer. This replaces that human grunt work of coming up with 3,000 plus words from scratch. AI has billions of data points to reference, and it's a stronger, more capable writer. The biggest problem in content marketing, the creation itself, gets solved for good. So the problem that the AIO model solves is achieving that quality, accuracy, personality in your authority building AI content while publishing content at scale. That used to be nearly impossible. You would have to find and source so many writers. The solution is to use the AIO approach, and you'll be able to publish content without losing that style, personality, accuracy. So this model comes from Content at Scale users. We used to do a done-for-you service. We're now recommending done-for-you partners. And we were doing 500,000 words a month with just 3 humans. Our users are doing 50 million words per month. And this is growing each and every month. So when we surveyed our user base, this is what we found. We found some baseline margins as to what was going on in cost savings, time savings, and a profit margin increase if they sold writing as a service in their business. On the cost saving time, the baseline was 60%. Some saw as high as 80%. The time savings was incredible. With AIO, instead of human only, people were saving 70% of their time. Some were saving 300%. And then the profit margin increase was 40% increase, sometimes much higher. So the actual cost in dollars decreases by hundreds per post whenever you switch to the AIO approach, and the baseline time decreases by 11 hours per post. This is incredible. This is a revolution when it comes to creating content at scale. So an actual agency that adapted to this model, I trained them on a Zoom call. So they were paying $1,800 for 10,000 words. They couldn't hire the writer on the weekends. They were stuck within only one writer. They had to pay another fee to get another writer. Well, now using Content at Scale, they pay less for 25x more output. That's pretty incredible. So some big questions before we jump into, I'll show you our actual tool. Will Google actually rank this content, and who owns the copyright? These are some of the big elephants in the room. Will Google rank AI content? Well, in April of 2022, they said they wouldn't. In fact, they clearly said AI generated content is against our guidelines. And then they did a roundabout in October of the same year when Danny Sullivan, their liaison, said on Twitter, we haven't said AI content is bad. And then they began to rename their webmaster guidelines, and they took out mentions of AI. And if you read those guidelines today, it talks about spammy AI content that is just generated and to create a ranking effect and doesn't make any sense. So the quality of the content, and that's why our AIO model and our AIO approach protects, is the quality and the integrity of your AI content. So in February of 2023, Google was pretty clear when they actually wrote on the Google Search Central blog, is AI content against our guidelines? Appropriate use of AI or automation is not against our guidelines. Very clear, read it for yourself on the Google Search Central blog. So you can use AI to write your SEO content, but you cannot skip the human review part. That's critical. Now, what about the copyright? This is a big question, right? There's a lot of hearsay, a lot of headlines, but if you actually go to the US Copyright Office, they have a verdict out on text, AI-produced text. And the verdict is not out yet on images. That's a little bit more iffy. But this is what the US Copyright Office says when it comes to AI-produced text. If a work was created by an AI system, then that copyright is owned by the person who owns the AI or has the exclusive rights to it. If you're using ChatGPT, will Microsoft pass that copyright down to you? ChatGPT itself doesn't know the answer and recommends you go to the courts to find out. But what we do know is that proprietary technology built using GPT models and other language stacks put together in a proprietary way that is custom to that creator allows you to retain more copyright ownership. Content at Scale is a non-funded company. It is 100% bootstrapped. Our founder, Justin McGill, baked this into the software as a main point why users would adapt. He passes down the copyright to all of our users, and that will never change. So how do you actually build a content strategy that builds income? Let's talk about that briefly before we get into the tool. 3 very, very simple steps. You might be amazed how simple this gets. First, reroute your humans into optimizers. Reduce your content costs by 10x. Get to know the machine and find the people that can run it. That's simple. Number 2, commit to more content because you can now do it much more easily, and do your consistent keyword research. So HubSpot did a study finding that the more content, the more traffic and ROI, as high as a 13x ROI. And this happens only if you're doing 2 to 6 posts per week. So you have to do more content to get more results. It's the truth. So how do you find topics for this content? At Content at Scale, at any plan starting at $500 per month, we do a year of content strategy for free. That's included. So we try to take some of this hard work off of you so you're not stuck wondering, okay, I have to publish a lot, but what do I publish on? What keywords do I use? So we do that keyword research for you. You can learn our keyword research strategy at contentatscale.ai/keywords. We could spend an hour going on that, but I won't. We'll keep going. So the third step is to simply commit to this, do it for yourself, and to make even more bank, resell it as a service. If you're an agency, if you're a marketing provider, if you're a consultant, if you're a freelancer, offer AIO writing as a service. And it's in demand. I can tell you from experience, we have companies throwing our credit cards at us, their credit cards at us, wanting us to do a done-for-you service. But instead, we're recommending our partners. So keep an eye out for our course in our community where you can be a recommended partner. So one of our users is Troy Erickson at copywriting.org. He said he didn't have to hire a single human writer or touch the machine. And he used our AIO approach. All he did was he bought the software, gave it to his SEO guy, and that SEO guy ran the whole thing. And in 6 months of doing content, in 1 month of doing content, they had 6 months of domain growth. They shortcutted their way to success with quantity of content. This beautiful graph you can see, the DA shot up. He was doing 70 articles a month, but keep in mind, he was running another business and his SEO guy ran the whole thing. That's how simple it gets to publish content with Content at Scale. So I'll end before we go into the tool with this point. Use the right tools. There's nothing worse than adding tools that actually make more work for yourself. And ChatGPT does. I've tried to use it for this type of content. It consistently breaks. It writes regurgitated, superficial, shallow content. It is nowhere near as good as the proprietary AI writer that is inside Content at Scale. You get better quality output. That's a fact. You'll see it for yourself. And it consistently breaks, and it doesn't finish writing a full blog. You can't edit it. It's a static web page. That and so many more reasons why I would never use ChatGPT for long form. It simply adds more work. You can prompt it dozens of times to get that output, but do you want to? Do you want to spend your time prompting it? Instead, use Content at Scale, and within minutes, you'll get an almost 3,000 word blog with everything it needs to rank in Google. You can write this piece and edit and publish within the hour. If you use the craft framework, which is a key piece of our AIO model, you'll make sure that your content is good. You don't just want to publish mediocre content. You still want to apply the human touch. So follow these steps every time, cut the fluff, review, edit, and optimize, add your images and media, fact check the content, and then trust build. Write in personal anecdotes. Talk about your story. So we're inside Content at Scale. The first thing you want to do is set up a project. The content that you create will live inside that project. Each project, as you can see here in my 19 projects, can integrate directly to your website, meaning you can automatically publish content to different websites from each project. That alone is pretty magical. But let's create a project. We're going to go with a difficult keyword and see how the tool does. The keyword is how to care for your feet with diabetes. So let's see what happens. So let's say I'm going to write for the website everydayhealth.com. So the first step we're going to do is the project level. We're going to put in our project name. We're going to put in our URL, Everyday Health. We're going to describe the website. So one little hack I like to do is I'll look at the about page, the home page, and then I'll gather some information about the site from there and literally just copy and paste it in. So here we go. Committed to supporting readers in their journey to live a healthy life. That's good enough. And then for the audience, we can say people wanting to live healthier. If you have a specific audience, like let's say, for example, you talk to tax accountants, you want to put that in here, be specific. For the tone of voice, you can pick one or write your own in. I'm going to go with informative. You can choose any language from this dropdown. There are so many languages supported, and you'll be able to choose your language and then have it write natively in that language. Okay, so we're going to click Create Project, and now we're actually going to create this piece of content for the keyword. So I'm going to go find my project. Here it is, Everyday Health. I'm going to add content. For this recording, we're going to pick from a keyword, and we're going to grab our keyword and drop it in here. I'm going to leave the context blank and see what it will do without adding more context. We can save it to our content planner. We can click customize. When we click customize, we can see at a glance the headers that the article would write on. We can customize those headings. We can open them up and we can add some more context if we have, exclusive thoughts on these headers. Pretty good. So what we're going to do now is click Create Content Now, add this to the queue, and come back when it's done. And you can watch this tutorial that pops up to see best practices using Content at Scale and learn more about it. A few minutes later, by the way, this is what your post will look like. You'll have a status bar that shows, if you hover, exactly where the post is at percentage-wise. So we can see this is 60% written. It's writing the post right now. It analyzed the SERPs. It looked at the FAQs in Google and got insights from that. And it's done with the natural language processing part. So we can see at a glance where this post is. Okay, so the post is done. And first of all, look at this title, How to Care for Your Feet with Diabetes Essential Tips. That is a spot on title. We're looking at a long form blog, over 3,000 words. When it says ready for optimization, we can jump right into it and start reading it. So right out of the gate, this scores 81 out of 100. That's a very healthy optimization score. That means we don't need to do a ton of work to actually get this ready for search. This may take us 10 to 15 minutes to edit and publish. And if we think about our craft framework, these are the steps we can take to ensure that our AI content is great. For this piece in particular, I would probably focus on adding images and visuals to really bring this to life, fact checking it, and then adding some personal story. So let's scroll through this post and look at it. The table of contents is written very well. We have understanding risk factors of diabetes-related foot complications. These are legitimate risk factors. How to care for your feet, talking about comfortable shoes, moisturizing your feet, checking your feet daily, proper foot hygiene, wearing the proper footwear, keeping your feet clean and dry, and then how to recognize warning signs to seek medical attention. And then we end with FAQs in relation to this topic. Whenever there's a claim cited, so there's the name of this specific type of nerve damage, that's a claim, right? So we can edit and we can actually see the link. And that is a .gov link. That's excellent for a fact-based claim. This is written so well. I don't even see a lot of fluff. For example, these points get right to the point. The section on proper foot hygiene is well worded, straight to the point. Selecting the right fit, finding supportive shoes. It knows to talk about words that I would not know if I was researching and writing this piece of content. We have another link made to a claim from the National Institute of Diabetes and Digestive Kidney Diseases. Excellent stuff. And then we have a list of FAQs, how to care for your feet, natural treatments, and then a conclusion. And because we filled out our project details, it's linking to that specific site. So this is nearly ready to go content. Over here on the right, if we scroll down, we can see the keywords that are used in the content. Whenever the keywords are in green, that means it's used enough amount of times. And this number range represents how many times the keyword shows up in the top articles of Google. And the number on the left means how many times it appears in our article. So we would want to optimize that naturally a few more times to hit the minimum. If we click the checklist tab, we have an on-page checklist we can follow that tells us exactly what to do to make this content ready for search. Much of it is done already. Under the research tab, we can have the article rewritten. That doesn't cost an extra credit. We can see what's ranking at the top of Google and click on these links and actually look at all the content. And over here, this is a direct API call to Copyscape, one of the leading plagiarism checkers. So this will tell us if this content is plagiarized at all. So it came back as 1% plagiarized. I'm not that worried about that. I would be more worried if it was climbing past 2 or 5%, but 1% plagiarized, 3-4 words here and there is totally fine. We also have an AI detector built directly into the app. It will tell us the predictability, the probability, and the pattern of this content being human-like versus written by AI. So we can tell that in a minute as well. Most of the time it'll score over 80, but it's completely honest. So you can see here we do have a little bit of work to do to bring up the predictability. And something we could do potentially is just remove the table of contents. It's reading the table of contents as more robot-like. And remember, AI detectors simply predict the word string patterns. Does this sound like a robot or does it sound like a human? And because these are short words, it probably doesn't sound that human-like. So that makes sense. But you can see how these areas are highlighted. So if we think back to the framework of trust building, making it sound personal, we can go through this and see exactly where and what to rewrite to make it better. And then over here in the media tab, we can actually pick royalty-free images and associate that directly with this blog. And if we go back to the project level, right, the project we made for this website, we can go to integrations and directly connect WordPress through our WordPress plugin so that this seamlessly integrates directly to our website. We also have a Shopify plugin coming up soon as well. What you see here with Content at Scale is magic. Human-like, high-quality, fact-based content written in minutes, and it's good. And all of this integrates to your website. When your content is published, it looks like this. even the table of contents works. It's directly connected to the headers inside of your blog, and you don't have to do any coding at all. This is fully automated. So if you haven't joined Content at Scale, what are you waiting for? We would love to see you on the inside. You can use the chat on our site to get all your questions about our software answered. We love helping our users, so we are 100% here for you. I hope to see you on the other side.